Black Ops 6 is out, and so are the sweaty players, so to help you compete against them, I got you the top 5 meta AR loadouts that you should be using. With the first gun being the STG-44, otherwise known as the Model L. So when you hit Prestige 2, you actually unlock the STG blueprint for the Model L. This is by far the most broken gun in the entire game. It was the first gun banned from competitive play, so if you want to pop off, get that tactical nuke, you're going to want to use this Model L build. So we do have the rapid fire on here, although you could take off the rapid fire. The rapid fire is just going to make the time to kill a little bit faster. It's going to increase the fire rate to about 9% more, so you can kill the enemies 9% faster, although we are losing a lot of our bolt velocity and a lot of our overall recoil control. But the bolt velocity with this build is still over like 1,000 or around 1,000 meters per second, so you should be perfectly fine. Next up, we are going to be using the extended mag. Since the fire rate is on the slower end of things, you could take this off. Maybe you want to add an optic. I would take off the magazine or the rapid fire to maybe add the Kepler or the ACU reflex. Next up, we are using the vertical foregrip. This gun is pretty bouncy, especially with that rapid fire, so this is going to make the gun so much easier to use. I tested out the other underbarrels. The precision and the ranger aren't too bad, but if you're trying to maximize that control and be very consistent, you're going to want to use the vertical foregrip. Next up, we are using the gain twist barrel. The reason for this, like over the reinforce, is that if we look at the overall damage range, it has a effective damage range of 40 meters, so we're doing 27 damage to the chest up to 40 meters. That's good enough. A lot of the maps in this game are about 40 meters or 45 meters long, so no matter the gunfight you're going to be in, you're going to be maxing out that damage range. And so I found that we don't really need to increase the damage range. Might as well just increase the bolt velocity, because that rapid fire is bringing down the bolt velocity. One thing about the bolt velocity that's very important is that it gives you hit scan. So now if we have a bolt velocity of around like 1,000, we're going to have hit scan up to about like 45 meters. So the second you shoot your gun, it's going to register on the enemy as you hit the target. Pretty much makes it feel like you're on a very good ping. Here's the screenshot for my favorite Model L class. Now, I don't really recommend 8 attachments on the build, but I guess before I get a million comments of people asking for the 8 attachment build, what I would do is add the ACU spot reflex, go over to the rear grip. The ADS speed's a little bit slow, so let's add the quick draw grip for the stock to make the gun a little bit lighter and increase that strafing movement speed, making yourself a harder target to hit and make it a little bit easier to activate with the rotational aim assist. This is going to be my favorite 8 attachment Model L, and I guess I'll give you guys the 8 and the 5 attachment for every single build, just so it's you overall have your preferences. Next up, this is going to be the XM4, which actually just got banned from competitive as well. This gun is way too broken in the game to where they said it like lowered the competitive ceiling, and just the SMGs and other guns couldn't really compete with it, so you're not going to even be able to use this in rank play. For the first attachment, since the gun is a little bit bouncy, we do have the compensator on here, although if I'm trying to be stealthier, or if you want to be stealthier, you would rock the suppressor. Next up, we have the reinforced barrel. The damage range on this thing isn't that good. It says our effective damage range is 17.8 meters, and so a part of me even wants to add the long barrel. It's just I want to balance up bolt velocity and damage range. The bolt velocity on this gun right now, if we had the long barrel, is only 675 milliseconds, meters per second. Really not that good. The reinforce makes it a little bit better and gives you a little bit more damage range. Next up, for the underbarrel, to add a little bit more control, we do have the vertical foregrip. Although you can get away with the ranger foregrip, this is going to allow you to run around the map a little bit faster while still having a lot of recoil control. Just keep in mind, if you do run the ranger, you can't really run a suppressor. You have to have the compensator. Next up, for the magazine, we do have the extended mag 1, just so we don't have to really worry about reloading as much. I feel like in this game, you just constantly have to reload. You're constantly in a gunfight, so the extended mag is definitely a must. For the optic, I do recommend the Kepler or the ACU reflex. On this gun, I really like the Kepler. I think that's probably my favorite sight in the game. Next up, for the stock, we do have the combat stock. Very underrated stock. This gives us a lot of flinch resistance and makes it so our aim walking movement speed's a little bit faster. Don't really care about that because that's not increasing your strafe speed. That's only increasing your ADS moving forward and backward, not left to right. But I really like how we get a lot of flinch resistance, and so it just makes you feel pretty good on the map. Another good one is going to be the balanced stock. And then again, we do have the rapid fire in here. There really isn't that much recoil on the weapon, so might as well increase the rate of fire, make it so you can kill the enemies a little bit quicker, make it even more broken than it was before. Although you could go over here, add the high velocity rounds, and then add the long barrel, then you have a little bit more damage range and then a little bit more velocity, but I would rather increase my rate of fire. For the 5 attachment, we're going to take off the rear grip, the stock, and the fire mod. This will kill a little bit slower, but since you only have 5 attachments, those other ones that we do have on are a little bit more valuable than increasing that rate of fire. Next up, we are going to be using the AMES. The AMES is probably the easiest gun to use in the game, although it does have a slower TTK, but sometimes I can feel like it kills faster because of the rate of fire. If you miss any shots, it's not going to be, you know, as detrimental, and then also it's going to be a lot easier to hit those shots. Definitely do recommend the AMES, and I believe that's probably going to be one of the meta ARs in rank play. So the iron sights are pretty wonky to where I really like to use the Kepler or the AccuSpot Reflex. Completely up to you. For the muzzle, you could take this off for, you know, something else I'll show you, but I really do like to have a suppressor on here since it does take a little bit longer to kill the enemies. I'm going to be firing out a lot of shots for a longer period of time to where the enemies are going to kind of figure out where I'm at. So the suppressor is just going to make it so I'm a little bit more stealthy on the map. We don't really need recoil controls, so don't run the commentary, muzzle brake, or the ported unless you feel like you do need that. What you could do is take off the suppressor. I usually do this on these smaller maps. Then I'll add the rapid fire. So yes, we are losing a lot of our bullet velocity, we're losing our accuracy, but we're going to be able to kill the enemies 11% faster as long as we're in the effective damage range, and just in general actually. So then on the smaller maps where it doesn't really matter if you're on the radar, the rapid fire is definitely a very fun option. I think most of you guys will actually like the rapid fire more. For the barrel though, since we are losing a lot of bullet velocity with the rapid fire, and in general this gun doesn't have that much bullet velocity, we are going to be adding the gain twist. We're not going to be increasing the damage range because our effective damage range is 45.7 meters. Like I was saying before, the biggest gunfight, the farthest gunfight you'll be in is probably 45 meters, so you're perfectly fine with that. Then for the underbuild, to make the gun a little bit more consistent, we do have the vertical foregrip. It's going to give us a lot of horizontal recoil control, so there is going to be a little bit of vertical on the gun, but you shouldn't really notice it since the gun's just so easy to use. Then next up, because you're always in a gunfight, we got the extended mag 1, but you could take that off to maybe add something else. So if you guys do want to screenshot my favorite 5 attachment AMES, there you guys go. Now if you want to rock this thing with the 8 attachments, you make this thing into a super weapon. Again, if you want barely any recoil, add the compensator, and then if you want to be off the radar, rock the suppressor. For the rear grip, because the ADS speed's a little bit slow, we got the quick draw grip. Then for the stock, for this one I really like to have the balance stock or the light stock since the mobility is pretty good on the weapon. You can kind of use it like an SMG. It is very fun to use the balanced on there, and then you can tie that in with the rapid fire, or if you don't really care about rapid fire, you could honestly just increase the bullet velocity more, or you know, add the recoil springs to make the gun have less recoil. But you know, rapid fire is definitely what I recommend. There's the 8 attachment AMES. My hair just took a shower and this shit is super wet, so I promise you I'm not oily. With all that said though, next up, this is going to be the AS VAL. I don't know why it always takes off my attachment. That's super annoying, but this AS VAL, it's kind of like a very aggressive AR. It's missing one of the attachments that makes the gun very easy to use, but this gun has, I think, the fastest TTK out of any of the ARs. It is absolutely banned from rank plays, so you should definitely take advantage of this gun and try to get some gameplays with it. So for the underbarrel, we do have the Ranger foregrip. That's going to add a lot of recoil control. I'm going to lose my shit. The recoil control is just going to make it a little bit easier to hit your shots. This gun does come with a lot of recoil, so it's kind of a must to add the Ranger. If you still can't control the gun, then I would use the vertical, but definitely try out the Ranger and try to get used to that. For the magazine, since the fire rate's so fast, we are going to be using the extended mag 2. I don't like how there's so many cons, but the fire rate's so insanely fast that you need at least like 40 bullets. If you don't have a magazine, the ammo count's like 20, 25, 20. Yeah, that's insane. And the extended mag brings it up to 30. So definitely run one of these ones. I believe in shipment, I do run the extended mag 3, but that's a little bit OD. Then next up, since the ADS speed is on the slower end and you do have to play pretty aggressive with the weapon, we are going to be using the quick draw grip. That's going to bring our ADS speed to be actually faster than the sprint to fire speed. So you're actually not going to be able to fire the gun until 210 milliseconds after you're done sprinting. Then next up, we do have the no stock on there. This is just nice because it's going to increase your strafing movement speed. I don't really care about the movement speed increase because that's only going to help you when you are walking around the map, not necessarily when you're sprinting, which is why I really like the Ranger. It's going to increase that sprinting movement speed. And then for the last attachment, we are going to be going over to the fire mod, and you want to add the not the rapid fire. The rapid fire is fun, but it makes the weapon very difficult to use. So I really like the recoil springs, and this allows me to get away with using the Rangers. So now we can move around the map fast. We got a lot of ammo. ADS speed is good. The strafe speed is good, and there's going to be absolutely no recoil, and you got that very fast TTK. The only thing is that there isn't like that much range with the gun, but you should be using it in like medium range engagements. You can use it at long range, but it's not really built for that. And so this build that we have, definitely a very good one. Now if you guys want the screenshot, there you go. If you want to use this thing with the 5 attachments, with the 8 attachments, we are going to be going over to the barrel, and then the barrel that I recommend is going to be probably the reinforced barrel, just because we don't have any attachments that's increasing the bullet velocity or the damage range, so might as well get best of both worlds. I can't speak at all. And this is going to keep that suppressor built in, and so that's another thing that's OP with the AS VAL is that you have a built-in suppressor. And then I don't really need to run an optic. I really like the iron sights, but feel free to run the Kepler. And the lasers, I don't think the lasers are that that good. I hope we get some good lasers. I just don't like the enemies seeing the lasers, so it's you know, a little bit annoying, and I always stay away from those. Here's going to be the best 8 attachment AS VAL. Keep in mind you can add an optic if you want to, and I think that is, guys, got a Twitch follower. Yo, follow the Twitch, Cbass, and I think that is going to wrap it up for. Oh, this is going to be the AK. I almost forgot about the 3-shot weapon. You can absolutely destroy people across the map. You guys can see that the iron sights are honestly pretty easy to use, but this first build I'm giving you, the 5 attachment, I believe is, oh, is this an 8 attachment? Yeah, 8 attachment one actually has the optic. So Kepler on there, or you can use the ASSUALT reflex. And then for the muzzle, because the gun is very bouncy, you kind of need the compensator. You can get away with the suppressor if you want to be more stealthy, but the gun is so much more consistent with the compensator. Next up, for the barrel, we are going to be using the reinforced barrel. This can increase that damage range, and the bolt velocity, bringing that damage range up to 45.2 meters, and our bolt velocity is going to be 1,000 meters per second. And so it doesn't matter the range that you're going to be in, you're basically going to be getting hit scan, and it's just going to feel very, very consistent. Since I was saying the gun is very bouncy, you do have to add the vertical foregrip to eliminate a lot of that bounce. The muzzle's taking away the vertical, the underbarrel is going to be taking away the horizontal. You are blowing through ammo pretty fast, so I got the extended mag 2, although that's a little bit OD, so I feel like most of you guys will like the extended mag 1. If you're on the smaller map, you can literally just take that off and you got a free attachment. Then for the grip, since the gun is slower, we do have the quick draw grip to increase the ADS speed, bringing our new ADS speed to 210 milliseconds, and that's almost in line with the sprint to fire speed. Whichever one of those values is the slower one, that's the one you want to kind of base things off of, because you typically don't fire the gun until you're fully ADS. Next up, for the stock, we are going to be using the combat stock just so we have a little bit less flinch at long range. Some people would like to use the heavy stock over the combat, but it is a little bit nice to like be able to walk around a little bit faster, just have the option for that. So really like the combat, but if you want the gun to feel lighter, definitely add the light stock. It really doesn't matter. You guys can add whichever one you want, and then stay away from the laser. And then for the fire mod, we do have the overpressured rounds, increasing the bolt velocity a little bit more. I did try out the rapid fire, but the gun was very difficult to use with the rapid fire. It's just way too bouncy. It only increases that rate of fire by like 6%, so I don't really think it's worth it. What you could also do if you want to rock a suppressor is, for the fire mod, add the recoil springs, then go to the muzzle and add the suppressor. So this is a very good stealthy 8 attachment AK-47 build. And if you want one that's just a little bit more consistent, there's that one. Now, if we are going to be rocking the 5 attachments, what I recommend you guys to do is to take off the stock, the quick draw grip, and the fire mods. So now you're going to have extra ammo, a lot of recoil control. You're going to have a pretty good range. You're going to have no recoil, and you got the ASSUALT. Since the gun already has a pretty good damage range, you could take this off, and then you guys can add maybe a rear grip for a little bit more ADS speed, or you can add the light stock to feel a little bit more mobile on the map. Overall, though, doesn't really matter. A lot of these guns are good with no attachments. Hopefully this wasn't too confusing, and I hope it was helpful. If it was, you have a good day. Deuces.